So we just got a new Kraven the Hunter trailer. And even though parts of this trailer actually look kind of badass, unfortunately hidden within the trailer is also confirmation that those old really bad plot leaks are probably true. Sony gonna Sony, am I right? As always, in this video, I want to take you through what was revealed in the trailer, how it lines up with the old plot leaks, but I also think it's important to talk about the changes that have been made to this movie, because Sony's doing a lot of changes to this film. I think they might have taken some of the whack stuff out of the original plot. They really want Kraven to be a success, but not enough to like put Spider-Man in the movie. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Now, the first thing we got to talk about is like the very beginning of the trailer, which shows Kraven the Hunter going into a prison while his father is talking about how they're hunters. That's, of course, Russell Crowe. And then Kraven encounters this other person in the prison who I still can't figure out, is this like a guard or is this another prisoner? I'm not quite sure, but the person's living lavish in this prison, so somebody of status. And the character even has a full-on tiger rug, like the skin of a tiger head. That's his rug, and he probably shouldn't have done that because Kraven rips out one of its teeth and then goes John Wick on everybody in the room, including the main dude, and he kills them all. For the record, let me just say, I love the brutality of this action. I love how bloody it is. It's good violence, man, and that feels like Kraven. That feels good for Kraven the Hunter. And if you think about the full context of this scene, it seems like Kraven went to prison on purpose, right? Because he pretty easily escapes, and then that female, who I think is Calypto, she's like, who's next? Which kind of implies that there's a list, he's taking people out, you know, so that's what that is. So it's kind of badass, right? It's kind of fine. However, the fact that this person in prison had the tiger thing, and there's all this mention of hunters, has me worried, because the old plot leak was that Kraven the Hunter was actually going to be going after other hunters. No, I'm not joking. The rumors were that Kraven the Hunter was going to be hunting hunters and have a thing for animals. Like, he loves animals. That was like, I know. But that's what I'm worried about, chat. We don't know for sure, like, if that was ever real, but it's a totally Sony thing, right? Like taking the character of Kraven the Hunter and making him go after hunters, making him like an animal rights activist, or maybe he has some kind of bond with animals and now he's taking out other hunters. Feels so stupid, so trash, but also very, very Sony. Now, we get other lines in the trailer with this Calypto character talking to Kraven like, are you your father? Are you a killer? Are you a gangster? And we see scenes with Kraven and his dad, Russell Crowe, showing that he comes from some kind of gangster background. But then there's another shot which... oh, you better not, Sony. I'm talking about these mercenaries here and all these traps that they have, right? So they're going out there and they're setting all these traps. Now, maybe and hopefully they're just setting these for Kraven, or they're setting them around to like act like hunters, but they're really just there for Kraven, because my worst fear is that these are just hunters of some kind and Kraven hates them and he loves animals and he wants to stop the hunters? Because this would be two hints right at the beginning of the trailer that those old plot leaks are real, and this is really what Sony is doing. However, the trailer does introduce the character of Rhino, and it kind of sets up Rhino as this dangerous animal that they've never encountered before. Like, you hear some Russell Crowe lines there, and you do get some shots of Rhino in a big battle with Kraven at the end of the trailer, which looks kind of dope. Because remember, this movie's been delayed actually multiple times, and Deadline recently just reported that J.C. Chandor, who was the guy that directed this movie, and apparently this guy is also responsible for a lot of the most recent changes to the film due to reshoots. I mean, here's what he said here. He said, I'm extremely proud of the work we have all done together on Kraven, and when the movie finally gets its chance to be seen, I think it's going to surprise the hell out of a lot of people. As for what next for me, as always, it's up to the movie-making gods. And the Deadline article says that the delays allowed for Chandor to sharpen the characters and tighten the plot, and some strategic reshoots which were used effectively. And this guy, Chandor, the director and the writer and the guy that's like helping with the Morbius movie, he just got a big deal at Sony. Like, they're very excited about this version of Morbius, and they really want it to be a success. They're giving this guy a freaking deal. And on top of that, insider Daniel RPK did say yesterday yesterday that in the original version of the movie that was screened, the shot of Rhino and his skin turning into Rhino was actually going to be at the very end of the movie. And Daniel's basically saying that a lot of the additional Rhino stuff was added to the film. So there's hope here, ladies and gentlemen. There's hope that at the very least, Sony went away from Kraven being an animal rights activist and like going after the hunters, because it's like, wow, what a twist. Yeah, they went away from that shit and they have gone to at least, maybe, hopefully, Kraven versus Rhino with some history with his father, the gangster, his brother, the chameleon, and just more kind of comic booky stuff. And that Deadline article also mentions the massive failure of Madam Web, and it was talking about how they want, Sony, they want Kraven to be more like Venom, and they want it to be its own franchise and to get away from the Madam Web stuff and be like a serious franchise. And they want to build off of this character. And I had even heard rumors that this Kraven character was going to cross over in the MCU, that Marvel and Sony were interested in like bringing him over maybe in Spider-Man 4 as well. So there's like a lot of interest on Kraven. And I remember when I first heard that Kraven might be in Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland because they want to do a little bit of Kraven's Last Hunt and they want to do the symbiote suit with Peter Parker. I just remember thinking like, Kraven? Like Aaron Taylor Johnson Kraven? Like Quicksilver's now Kraven? I honestly wouldn't believe it, except for the fact that there have been long-standing rumors for like years that Kevin Feige himself really likes Kraven and he wants Kraven to be in the movies with Tom Holland. And in fact, Kraven was heavily rumored to be in Spider-Man No Way Home. It didn't end up working out, so they end up putting him in the movie in that weird scene where all of the like shadowy blue versions of villains are coming through. Like there's clearly a version of Rhino there, and there's clearly a version of Kraven. And actually, now that I think of it, there was going to be a Rhino versus Kraven movie, I think. And maybe Sony just took those ideas and like threw them into the actual Kraven movie now instead of waiting for a sequel. But with all that aside, we've also had recent reports that even Spider-Man 4's plot is changing quite a bit. There's a lot of change happening with the comic book movie scene, especially when it comes to Marvel. This, you know, going away from Gang, going to Doomsday, all of that. Just talked about it in a video recently, but it seems like the Kingpin plot, possibly the Daredevil plot, and a lot of the street level stuff that was going to be in Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland has now been scrapped, and there's a high chance that the movie is going to be a multiversal movie, bringing back Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, maybe tying to Venom as well. Maybe they'll figure out some bizarre way to bring Kraven into that thing too. And so I think best case scenario, they went away from all the weird stuff they were going to do with him hunting hunters and loving animals, and now they're just going more gangster. They're adding in the Rhino because they want a big push for like Rhino versus Kraven at the end of the film, which I think would be sick. Hopefully they upgrade the CGI on the Rhino because he's looking a little rough right now. But the thing is, this is still not Kraven as most Kraven fans or Spider-Man fans would like him to be seen. Kraven is awesome, but Kraven's awesome because he's a hunter that recognizes that Spider-Man is the most dangerous game and comes to try to hunt him. And he can actually compete with Spider-Man as far as like athletics and stuff. And the only way you show that is by actually showing them compete athletically, right? So this is just a weird one to me because I kind of have a soft spot for the Venom movies. I'm actually excited for Last Dance, maybe a little bit of Noel action in there. And Sony has the opportunity to actually cook with some really cool characters behind the scenes. But Kraven feels more Morbius than it feels Venom. Maybe not all the way Madam Web, but it feels a little bit more like Morbius. So I guess this is their best shot at making this work without Spider-Man, and we'll just have to see how the fans react. What do you guys think? Like, are you excited for Kraven? Do you think they changed the plot leaks? Does it matter to you at all? Are you going to see this movie, or are you holding out so that Sony fails and then they have to actually do stuff with Spider-Man? Let me know in the comment section below. Always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.